Hey, what's up, guys? So, I just bought this giant whiteboard, right? And I thought it'd be kind of cool if I made a bunch of different videos using the whiteboard to help you understand different BMX specs. Because on my website, that's a big thing that people ask about is what top tube size should I get? What does the chainstay mean? What does the head tube mean? And I have a bunch of posts going in depth on there, but I was thinking maybe a video would help explain it better. So welcome to the BMX Specs video series. If there's something that you have a specific question about, don't forget, just leave a comment and I'll make sure that I address it. Alrighty, so you're probably shopping for a bike or some BMX parts and you're wondering what's the difference in high tensile steel and chromoly? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to go in depth and tell you what high tensile steel is, what chromoly is, and even what Trimoly is. That's probably a word you've seen come up on a lot of complete bike reviews. So let's get into it. So first off, we have high tensile steel. Now, high tensile steel's for beginner riders, all right, people who are pretty much brand new to the sport, and people who don't need something super strong because they're not throwing those crazy tricks, they're not taking crazy crashes. So some of the things about high tensile steel is it's called 1020 steel, okay? It's the weaker version, it bends on the tubing, but it's cheap. I mean, cheap in a good way, cheap in a bad way, however you want to look at it. Now in the contrast, we have Chromoly. Now this is 4130. It's strong. It snaps at the welds, so it's going to be snapping right here instead of bending on the tubing right here like the high tensile steel does. And it's also a little more expensive. There's a more in-depth post about this on my website. I mean, I even talk about what like a foot of tubing costs, what a foot of high tensile steel costs versus what a foot of chromoly costs. So I go really in depth there, but that is the main gist of it. Now, when you see a bike or a frame that says it's Trimoly, basically that's just combining the two. Okay, it's combining the beginner high tensile steel and it's combining the more high level chromoly. And what that means is that this back part right here, this red part, is going to be high tensile steel. So it's weaker, but in general, that back end doesn't take a ton of impact, especially for beginner riders. Now this part, this front part up here, is the high tensile steel. And the reason they do that is because a lot of times what happens with full high tensile steel frames is you nose case. And when you nose case with high tensile steel, that whole front end kind of crinkles and you ruined your whole bike. So they make the front end a little stronger, they make the back end a little weaker. It saves them money, it saves you money, and it's almost a win-win. The only issue with this is, as you start to do 360s and 180s and even doing drops downstairs, this starts to angle this way. So normally, if you look at it head on, okay, the back end is like this. And as you start to spin, the impact pushes it whichever way you're spinning. And over time, it goes like this. And now that's not very good, especially if you're trying to line up your back wheel and you notice it's rubbing, but you can't figure out why. Overall though, it really does just depend on the kind of riding you plan to do. Now, if you're a beginner rider and you don't need a bike to do those high level tricks, those mid level tricks, whatever it may be, getting a high tensile steel frame is not that bad, especially because it's going to be so much cheaper than a chromoly frame. Now that you know a little bit more about the different materials, you can make a smarter choice when buying your bike. If that's something you're doing and you're shopping for a bike, let me know on my website. I'll leave a link below, but you can fill out a form and just put in some basic information like your height, your skill level, your budget. I'll look over that information and I will build you a custom form with 3 bike recommendations from me. Doing this saves you just, a lot of headache because the last thing you want to do is spend too much money on the wrong bike. So I'll help you not do that, and I'll see you in the next video where we talk about a different BMX spec. Thanks.